Yeah, I once had a patient who told me that she sees her whole life as this, series of action scenes which happen in a movie. So her whole life she saw as a movie, and sometimes we also can sort of spend a lot of time in this kind of imagining and fantasy and stuff like that. So it's important to know, I guess, which is what you guys wanted to know, that um, how okay is this? Is it okay to indulge in this? How much can we indulge in it? What are the dangers and that sort of thing? So let's just look at that. Okay. Fantasy is actually a great thing, letting your imagination go. I love this picture of the balloons in the house. It's from one of those animated movies, right? And it gives such a sense of buoyancy and life and something very unique. No? So as a diversion, as a sort of exploring of what can happen, even as a genre of fiction or movies or whatever it is, it's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course, sometimes it becomes a habit, which is the problem. And then one can't always be flying above the sky in these flying houses, right? We have to come down to earth at some time. So there are these two famous movies which I wonder if you guys know. One is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is actually a James Thurber novel, which was written around 1939. And there was a Hindi serial which was made quite some time back during my young days. Okay, it was quite early, maybe in the 90s or something like that, which was called Mungeri Lal Ke Haseen Sapne. It was based on this Thurber movie. And it was a very interesting take on it. And I'm going to show you a clip from that. And then after some time, they remade the movie. There was one Hollywood version of it sometime in the 50s or something. And then they remade it, of course, recently in 2013 with Ben Stiller. And that one was, again, a very interesting take on it, but much darker. So it brought out the whole problems of fantasy and how sometimes just living in a fantasy world can turn us into very inefficient and sort of people who are not living up to our potential, and sort of inept kind of people. So it brought out that rather darker side of this kind of fantasizing. But then the milder versions of this are not either Walter Mitty or Mungeri Lal. It is just a college girl who lies in bed daydreaming all the time, or reading romance novels all the time. I remember when I joined college 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there was this girl in college who you won't believe it. She used to just lie in bed all the time, daydreaming. She was absolutely fine. She didn't have any other problem. She would just be daydreaming and reading romance novels all the time. So she was just in this own whole fantasy mode all the time. Of course, young people might fantasize about being sports stars and movie stars, or doing well at this or that. So that is the more common form. But let's see these two clips, and I'm going to show you bits of it. Let me. Okay, so this is Mungeri Lal Ke Haseen Sapne. Just to give you a little background, this is a scene from Mungeri Lal where his in-laws have come home, and the way you see them interacting, you'll understand the sort of stuff that went on in his life. I hope many of you can understand Hindi. Can I see thumbs up? Not too many, is it?
Not too many, Auntie.
Okay. Well, you don't even need to understand Hindi. You will just get the gist of it. Okay. Yeah.
हम मिनिस्टर खेलावन बाबू के गांव के गौरी बाबू के लंगोटिया दोस्त बजरंगी लाल के छुटका दबात है, ठीक कह दें.
So this is the father-in-law, and you can see that he's bullying the son-in-law a bit. Okay. He's saying that if you talk in such a dead voice, nothing is going to happen. So the father-in-law is sort of, putting down the son-in-law, Mungeri Lal.
के बात सीखे, जो बोलेगा टपट के, सुनेगा झपट के। अरे आपके देह में तो चिड़ी भर मांस है लीला। कल भोरे से हमारे साथ दंड बैठक कीजिए, वर्जिश मालिश कीजिए।
So he's saying, so again, he's putting him down. He's saying, you're very weak. You don't have any muscle on you. Tomorrow, you're going to do some malish and some exercises with me. Okay. So you can see that he's putting him down a fair bit. Now, see what happens the next day. Okay. Okay. So he's making him do his exercises.
27, 28, 29, 30। अब बहुत हो गया बाबूजी, कम से कम 50 तो कीजिए जमाई बाबू।
So he's saying, no, you have to do at least 50 of those, whatever Surya Namaskars or whatever they're called. And he wants him to do it. But of course, this guy is tired and exhausted. He doesn't want to. But go on.
जब से वर्जिश कीजिएगा तो आपका भी भड़का जमाई बाबू जैसा पर्सनैलिटी निखर आएगा। हमारा कल बढ़ जाएगा। अब कब ना बढ़ेगा, तो बढ़िए जाएगा। सीना चौड़ा करके पर्सनैलिटी का रुआब दिखा के अपने अफसर से प्रमोशन मांगिएगा, फट से दे देगा।
अरे हमरे राठौड़ साहब पर पर्सनालिटी का असर नहीं पड़ता, कारण उनका तो अपनी पर्सनालिटी है।
So the father-in-law is telling him that you need a promotion and you go, you do these exercises, sort of expand your chest and go and ask him and he'll give you a promotion. All right. So now he's going to ask for the promotion.
ये किस कथे ने टाइप किया था? हमने सर। इंग्लिश तो आती ही नहीं, अब हिंदी भी भूल गए। जाओ, फिर से टाइप करके ले आओ। अरे हमने कहा जाओ। सर वो हमने प्रमोशन के लिए रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया था, जरा इसे देख लिया जाए। रिप्रेजेंटेशन का आइडिया किस कथे का था?
So you can see how the office manager is treating him. Okay, and this is the story with Mungeri Lal. That's his life. Now see at the end what he does. Okay, he has been asked to go and play with somebody's kid. Okay, so he's being demeaned in every way. So finally, this is his sort of revenge.
तुम मिस्टर नोटा को बोलो, जापानी येन का भाव बढ़ रहा है तो अमेरिकी डॉलर का गिर भी रहा है। हम अपना माल अमेरिका से मंगा लेंगे। हेलो, राठौड़ को लेके जाओ। सेठ, हेलो क्या हाल है? हुक्म मुंगेरी से, बस सारी कृपा हमारे ऊपर होनी चाहिए। अरे सेठ, हम तुमको कितने बार बोला कि 200 करोड़ से कम के सौदे के बारे में हमको परेशान न किया जाए। 200 करोड़? कोई बात नहीं, हमने एक चांस तो दो सेठ जी। अरे ठीक है, एक काम करो, वो तो पानी फर्टिलाइजर के जितने भी शेयर हैं खरीद लो। हमें मालूम है कि उनके प्लांट में हड़ताल है और शेयर के भाव गिर रहे हैं। तुम्हें ये नहीं मालूम सेठ कि हड़ताल खुद मुंगेरी लाल ने करवाई। सच? हड़ताल आपने करवाई थी सर? यू आर ए जीनियस बॉस। शट अप, हमें तुम्हारे सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत नहीं। ये प्रमोशन का रिप्रेजेंटेशन तुम्हारा है? यस सर। मैं प्रमोशन का स्पेलिंग भी नहीं मालूम? यस सर। नो जाओ, किसी धोबी के गधे बन जाओ जाकर। सर प्लीज मुझे गधा मत बनाइए सर, जाकर मिसेस कंपानी के बच्चे के घोड़े बन जाओ। ओके ओके सर। कौन गधा छींक रहा है? आपके ससुर है सर। आपके लिए जो घर बनवाया है उसमें 33 बाथरूम है और हर एक में गर्म पानी का नल आता है। फिर काहे आप ठंडे पानी से नहाते हैं? अब ये जुकाम फैलाने दफ्तर में क्यों चले आते हैं?
मेरे बाबू, बड़का जमाई बड़ी मुसीबत में पड़ता है। 10 लाख की देनदारी अगर पूरी नहीं की गई तो बाजार से 7 बच जाएगी।
आपका बड़का जमाई और उसका बंडल बिजनेस नरेश एंड सन्स के नाम 10 लाख का ड्राफ्ट बनवा कर इनको दे दो और 1.25 रुपया खुला भी दे देना।
जी, प्रसाद चाटने के वास्ते
नहीं, आपके बड़ के जमाई का मूंछ मुड़वाने। मुंह से ध्यान हटेगा तब ना बिजनेस में लगेगा।
कमाल किया राठौर साहब।
So I hope you could understand this, that look, he was sort of put down by his manager, put down by his father-in-law, by his mother-in-law, and his reaction finally is to go into this fantasy world where you saw what he does. He is dressed tip-top, he's sitting in the chair, he's barking the orders, he's smoking a cigar, and he does the same things to the guy who comes to talk to him in the office as the officer did to him. So he throws the letter at him, he calls him a gadha or a donkey, he runs him down, and he sort of acts the boss in every way. Even the father-in-law, he demeans, he says that I built a house for you with 10 bathroom, okay, in the house. Why are you having a bath in cold water and spreading the germs here? Exactly the opposite of all the things that had happened to him. So you see that this is his revenge, okay? In his fantasy world, everything is running very differently, very well. Let's see the Walter Mitty clip as well. It's slightly different, and it's also very interesting.
Hello, Nuke. This one goes out to Walter Mitty. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. Control to Major Tom. Commencing countdown, engines on. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
So you get the picture. So you get the picture. In Walter Mitty, Walter is imagining himself in all these grandiose situations. Suddenly this beautiful girl is serenading him, singing to him, praising him, saying that, you have to do this, and you did this, and, you are ready to do this. And he makes this flying leap onto this helicopter, and, he's the center of the scene. Okay. So this is the kind of fantasy that sometimes we play out in our minds. Okay, so there are two different kinds of fantasies that you saw. One was the fantasy of control, or fantasy of sort of revenge, which Mungeri Lal was doing, and the second was the fantasy which was more in terms of a fantasy of achievement, power, being a very successful guy and all that. Okay, which Walter Mitty was imagining himself as doing. Now, why does this happen? So there's lots of sort of psychological explanations for this, and let me tell you some of them. One is a need to escape from non-satisfying life situations. Okay, so you saw how Mungeri Lal's life was, and in a sense, Walter Mitty's life is also like that. In a sense, all of our lives can have bits in it which are not satisfying, and there is this need to escape. This is Freud's theory, okay? The Freudian in psychodynamic theories that people cannot subsist on the scanty satisfactions which they can extort from reality. So you need to have your wishes fulfilled. Okay, so even if it's an imaginary wish fulfillment, people need to have that wish fulfillment, where the drive for pleasure, the drive for power, the drive for control, these are some things which are very basic in our psyches. Very often they don't get satisfied in real life. Okay, so in the fantasy world, this is always satisfied. Okay, in the fantasy world, we are powerful, we are in control, we have all that we need. Okay, we have the pleasure that we need, we have the praise that we need. Whereas in normal adult life, it doesn't always happen. Often we have to regulate our pleasure. Often we have to control our pleasure. Often we are not in positions of power or whatever it is. But sometimes there are these really awful situations where fantasy is a defense mechanism, okay, to ward off the anxiety of the really bad situation. So this is a second kind of a reason why we fantasize, okay? So Mungeri Lal's life could be said like that, but it was to a milder degree. But there are people who are in really, really bad situations. Now you look at, for instance, this COVID situation, okay? There are people who are uh, uh, closed up in quarantine for long periods of time. Some of them have people who are sick in hospital. Now, when you're shut up in quarantine, if you have somebody else who's in the hospital and you're worrying about them, what would you do? So maybe as a defense to remove the anxiety for some time, people may maybe escape into a movie or escape into a serial or something like that. It's a defense to ward off the real conflict, okay? Some people can also see this as regression, because fantasy and make-believe is actually a child's way of reacting to the world. Okay, it's not a very mature defense mechanism. It's a childish way that the children tend to play act, but that part of it carries over into our adult life, and it may sort of remain. So it may be a form of regression. And the scary part is that it is also sometimes associated with a self-concern and a preoccupation with ourselves, which is often a trait of narcissism. Okay, narcissism is something that right now people have been talking about a lot, because there are a lot of world leaders right now who people have been thinking are narcissistic personalities. People who are preoccupied with themselves, who have no empathy for others, who sort of always think that they know best, that no one else knows anything. They want to associate with the high and mighty because they think that in some sense they are high and mighty. Okay, they exaggerate their achievements. They talk about things they've not done, or they, whatever little they have done, they act as if they've done a great deal more than they actually have done. Often this kind of boasting and bragging and all this, this fantasy is actually to cover up fragile self-esteem. Okay, it is to cover up our inadequacy. This is the third or fourth reason that you can think of why this happens. Okay, another way of looking at it is from the behavioral point of view. Okay, now the behavioral school of psychology says that, look, when you do a particular action, it may give you a reward in two ways. One is that it may just block out the anxiety, okay? And so in a sense, that is a reward. So for instance, you have a bad situation at home, and maybe you take a couple of drinks and you find that you don't feel so bad. So then the anxiety is blocked, and so you are happy. Oh, this works. I can do it again. Okay. Sometimes if you go on indulging in that, a sort of pleasure cycle is set up in our brain, and that itself becomes the reward. It's not just blocking your anxiety, but it's also giving you a rush of chemicals in your brain, which sort of is a temporary reward, which positively reinforces the behavior. Okay. Now, the problem is this may not last long term. In the long term, alcohol, for instance, will damage your liver. Okay. In the short term, smoking may settle your nerves. It may reduce your anxiety, but long term, it's going to give you cancer. Okay. So drugs may take you into a fantasy world for some time. People take something and go off into a high. They think of something, they're seeing a colorful world, they're hallucinating something, okay? They're on a pleasurable trip. But long term, the use of marijuana and weed can cause what is called the demotivation syndrome. It can further psychosis. It can cause all sorts of problems. So there are two ways in which it happens. It blocks the anxiety, and it can add its own reward of short-term pleasure, but long-term it can be very dangerous. So this kind of escapism, I found this picture on Psychology Spot and I found it very interesting, isn't it? So this is sometimes the kind of escapism that we do. We're escaping out of our real life situations into something else, which is, a place of safety, some place where fun is there, some place where we are really safe and comfortable. And the anxieties can be ignored and thoughts can be redirected, okay? And I have been wondering whether this kind of escapism has increased nowadays during COVID, because the tensions are high. Many people are having all sorts of difficulties. Jobs are uh, uh, in danger, and education is kind of stuttering along. Exams are postponed, and people are falling ill. And I think probably a lot of us may have turned to some form of escapism, whether it's books, okay, books by themselves, not, but if it's continued and if it's too much, and if you're using it as an escape mechanism, these can be one source. Movies and serials, we may be, watching all sorts of things continuously. We may be getting into alcohol and drugs. Traveling has been earlier said as one form of escapism. Okay, so people don't want to deal with the anxieties at home, so it's easy to just keep going out every weekend and not hassling with the actual conflicts that you need to deal with, or your inadequacies or your problems, whatever it is. Video games can be a form of escapism. Sometimes sports and a continuous involvement of sports can be your escapism. Cult groups can be an escapism. And of course, the commonest, which is just plain old daydreaming. Okay, that is the usual roots of escapism. What are the advantages? Some amount of escapism or fantasy can be used to tide over difficult situations. And as I said, it's not a problem. Okay, some amount, small amounts is not a problem. It's fine. It should be okay to do it. Okay, and it's okay to do it, particularly to tide over impossible situations or difficult periods, when used in moderation with awareness that this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm just going to block out for some time. I'm going to do this for some time. Okay, or if you're doing it for some other reason or something like that, when used in moderation with awareness, it's a healthy defense mechanism. The advantage of this is also that it can be a tool to understanding ourselves. It can tell us where our real anxieties and conflicts are. The things that we don't accept in so many words will be obvious when we look at our fantasies. Okay, so for instance, if you look at Mungeri Lal, what were the things that were troubling him? The way that his in-laws treated him was troubling him. The way that his manager treated him was troubling him. Actually, you didn't see that bit, but his whole discomfort with the posh secretary in the office, that was troubling him. Okay, so these are the areas where he had these conflicts and anxieties. So his real needs came out also in the fantasy. He needed to have some kind of affirmation of himself. He needed to have some kind of productive work, a chair to sit in, a sort of responsible job that he wanted. He wanted to have the ability to give something to his father-in-law, because in one section he says, no, write a check of 10 lakhs for my father-in-law. So he obviously felt that he needed to be able to be the provider, the supporter. So one's own needs and desires will come out in the way that we are fantasized. So it can be a tool to understanding ourselves. Okay, this can be a very useful way of looking at fantasies, and in therapy, often this is used. It can show us the way forward to deal with these anxieties and to live a more mature and productive life. So if Mungeri Lal, for instance, was to understand himself and move forward, he would probably say, yes, I need to be more assertive. Maybe I should not take being called a donkey so easily. I need to, stand up when people are abusing me or demeaning me. I need to very gently correct them and do things which show that I am a useful, productive person. Maybe he needed to have a job which was giving him some kind of, feedback that he is doing well. So these are the things in which he could probably change his life. These are the advantages of fantasy. What are the disadvantages? The disadvantages also, unfortunately, are many, because if we just live in this fantasy world and do not actually address those real life situations and problems and just fantasize that we are doing it, but not actually doing it, then the problem would probably just get worse and worse, and it will catch up at some point. So fantasy can take us only so far. And then, as I said earlier, one of the most dangerous things of this is that it's a preoccupation with ourself, isn't it? And that's called narcissism. And thinking all the time about ourselves and others' reactions to us and how I should be and my problems and why, my life is not going this way. So it's a very unhealthy preoccupation with self, which can turn a person into a very unattractive and unproductive, and not a person who is nice to be around, not a person who is a healthy, mature, functioning individual. Okay. And of course, if you're using fantasy with things which are addictive, it can end up in addictions. Addictions will worsen the depression and anxiety, so you're worse off than you started. It can spoil your social relationships because if you are all the time in your fantasy world, if you're not doing anything about your actual problems, your relationships will get worse. People will resent your sort of stagnation and not doing anything to build your relationship. And worst of all, it just ruins your life. Okay, it's decreasing your full use of your potential and the productive and wonderful things that you could do with your life. So what do we do? Ask yourself how much you are using fantasy and escapism and why. Okay, and as I said, why will come out in the content of your fantasy. What are you fantasizing? How are you fantasizing it? It will tell you what your actual needs are. It will tell you what you think about yourselves. It will also tell you what your support systems are, what your faith is. Okay, it will tell how much you are concerned about yourself and how much you're concerned about other people. And let that be a point from which you jump off and think, when did I last do something for someone else? Or am I always preoccupied with myself? Am I thinking about how my life is going? When did I last think about someone else, perhaps who's worse off than me? And then correct this. Set limits on your escapist behavior. Start actually living. Correct those actual problems that you're facing, whatever those anxieties are. Deal with them. Perhaps your fantasy will give you a way of how to deal with it. Perhaps it won't. But start thinking about it and doing something about the actual anxiety. And then most important, but perhaps laugh at yourself a little bit. Okay. Like Mungeri Lal and like Walter Mitty, we all can be a little silly. We all can be a little, narcissistic, occupied with ourselves. So laugh at ourselves a little when we do it, but then accept ourselves as we are, as God has made us. We are special. We are made in His image. We are people of worth. And even if we have some problems, it's okay. Accept yourself as you are, and then make what changes you can. But get on with your life. Get on with it. Don't just hang around steeped in your fantasy and in your, sort of thinking of what you can do and never actually doing it. Start looking outward. Don't look inward. Don't keep looking at yourself. Look outward, and that will really help you. Okay, so just to summarize, I've talked about the fantasy, how sometimes it can be revenge fantasies, sometimes it can be, fantasies of what we can do and the sort of dream world that we inhabit. And we talked about how intracyclically this works in different ways. Okay, so there are all these reasons that we discussed of why it is. Sometimes it's a natural thing just to give us some satisfaction, something just to give us a place where we have comfort, where we have some kind of a pleasure or fun without restrictions. So some amount of fantasy is normal and okay. But then often it crosses the line and it becomes narcissism. It becomes an inward-looking trend. It becomes something which is addictive. It becomes something which can be regression. It's like a childlike sort of immature defense mechanism. Okay, and it becomes something which is perhaps you're repressing your problems and you're just kind of thinking of superficial solutions by just indulging in the fantasy. And we talked about how sometimes behavioral school gives us some kind of, the fantasy gives us some kind of a feedback. It gives us some kind of a reinforcement, either by reducing the anxiety of the bad situation we're in, or by some positive reinforcement by the reward chemicals which come into our brain from these addictive fantasies, or alcohol or drugs or whatever it is. But that those are dangerous. We talked about how there are advantages. Okay, it can be a healthy defense mechanism in small bits in bad situations, and it can also help us to understand our problems and do something about it. But the disadvantages are that it leads us to be inward looking, it leads us to be a little selfish, not looking at others. Okay, and it can be addictive, spoil our relationships, and not really lead anywhere in particular. So this is how we stopped it. Understand, okay, and work on ourselves and start changing the conflicts which come up through our fantasies.